Welcome back to Marketing Decoded. It might look a little different to you guys, and that's because this is our first table talk. So we were in a meeting recently and talking about the podcast and talking about the different pairings that we have and how, some of them have promotional people on them, some of them have graphic designers, some of them have account managers like myself. And then we realized you guys don't know what an account manager does. You may not know what a graphic designer does. And so we're here today to tell you a little bit more about what we do here at Davis Marketing, who we are individually, so that you're not going, well, this Ashlee chick's telling me about my target audience, but what does she know? This way you can sort of figure out why I know what I know and know that you can trust me. So with me today, I have some other ladies from DMC. The next table talk is going to look very similar, except they're going to have Corbin in there with them. Dennis sort of refuses to get on the podcast, but he's in St. Martin right now, having a blast, and he could not be bothered to be on the podcast, and I don't blame him. So, but we've got Gabby over here, Sarah, Abby, and Rachel, and so we're all going to tell you a little bit about ourselves and let you get to know us.
I think we should start with Rachel, since she is the newest addition to the team. So
yeah,
Rachel,
we're gonna roast her right now. Yeah,
we're gonna put you on the spot. So just go ahead and tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here.
Well, hey guys, my name is Rachel Wiggins, and I was born and raised in Statesboro, Georgia. So I'm a Statesboro local. And went to Statesboro High, go Devils, graduated from Georgia Southern, and go Eagles, and I am an account manager here. So
since you are new, you're not quite sure what that role is going to look like for you. So we're excited to have Rachel here and to be able to teach her a little bit about that role as account management. But how did you get into marketing?
Well, I started out in retail. And I worked at Anderson's General Store, went into banking, went into ministry, all of these different types of jobs, but all of them have marketing in them. And I've always loved it, took a lot of classes in college, and I just kind of fell into it. And so here I am.
Yeah, that's really, that seems like to be a lot of people's stories, just sort of, here I am. I've just ended up in this kind of thing. Mine's sort of similar. So my story, I've already told you, I'm Ashlee. I'm Ashlee Corbin, and I am lead account manager here at Davis Marketing. What that role is for me is I am basically the account manager is sort of the joke. I am responsible for working with clients, being their direct point of contact, and then sending that information over to the graphic design team when they need something and saying, hey, we need this kind of flyer or this kind of poster done, or communicating with them about what website needs they might have, helping to develop strategies for them for advertising, whether that's a campaign or video stuff. We've been doing a lot of video lately, and putting reels out there. We're starting to get into some TikToks. Abby and I are working on that with one of our clients specifically. They want to increase their TikTok presence, so we're here for that. And it looks different every day as an account manager. You could be writing content one day and at a film shoot the next. You could be in a meeting one day and helping somebody troubleshoot a hack on their social media account. Sometimes it varies day to day, which makes it really fun. Also sort of stressful, but really fun at the same time.
So I have a question. Since I'm new as an account manager and I'm looking forward to learning the position, what's your favorite thing to do, in your job as an account manager? My favorite thing,
but besides getting to actually talk to the clients and interacting with them, because relationships are really important to me, that's pretty much how I got to DMC, is by the relationships I have throughout the community and stuff. It is being able to build those relationships, but also it's being able to help come up with new and innovative ideas for people, something that they would have never thought to do otherwise, whether that's advertising on a podcast or that was not a plug, but if we need advertisers eventually,
Hit us up.
but no, I've got a client that's doing some podcast advertising, and that's something to both me and them, and nobody at DMC has done it before, so it's sort of cool to learn, because we can then turn around and pitch it to other clients and be like, these are the numbers we've got, this is what it looks like. So yeah, just doing new different stuff. I love that part.
Yeah, and just getting to work with different types of clients.
Oh yes, 100%.
There's a variety of that.
So I mentioned like relationships being part of the reason that I'm here. When at my previous job, shout out to Plank and Tile, I worked with clients and customers, to help pick out flooring or carpet, tile for their showers, their floors, that kind of thing. But it was a short-lived relationship. I didn't get to develop like a really in-depth relationship. Like I got to know them a little bit long enough to know that, they had a dog and the dog had light-colored fur, so you definitely didn't want a dark floor, but not long enough to really be able to be like, hey, how are your kids? Or, hey, I know your daughter was pregnant last time we talked. Has she had the baby? Or, things like that I can now do. One of my clients, actually, when I started, had not been married for very long, and then she got pregnant, and now she's got a 1-year-old.
Wow.
And so like being friends with her on Facebook and, getting to meet with her, I always ask about him and get to see pictures and stuff like that. So those are the kind of relationships that I really enjoy, is like being able to have that long-term, more in-depth kind of a relationship. So that's definitely one of my favorite parts.
And another great thing about Ashlee, I think she's one of the people here at Davis Marketing who has the longest experience. Ashlee, can you tell us what you were doing before Plank and Tile and before Davis Marketing?
So before I ended up at Plank and Tile, I was working at Statesboro Herald. I'd worked there for about 8 years, and I actually went to school for journalism, working at a newspaper, not doing journalism. I did write for the paper some, but for the most part I was working in the advertising department and developing those long-term relationships, like I mentioned, with those clients there. And it's interesting because now I get to have relationships with some of those clients here. So while I was at the Statesboro Herald, I ended up joining a civic organization in the community and got drug into doing the marketing and advertising for them, and did a lot of that for almost 10 years, and have developed that kind of knack to be able to find a target audience and really know how to speak to that audience, and just knowing different ways that work, to be able to knowing different ways that work to get your message out. And another full circle moment that came from that is, at the Herald, that's where I met Gabby, and she and I developed a friendship while we were there, and that's sort of how I ended up here at Davis Marketing. So, but Gabby, why don't you tell us a little bit about like yourself and how you started with the Herald and everything?
Well, I think first I want to start with how I met her, or my first impression of Ashlee.
Let's skip that part.
I need to hear this.
Cut.
Because my first impression of Ashlee was, oh, she's mean. So one day I was working on I'm a graphic designer. I'm a graphic designer here at Davis Marketing, and I've been a graphic designer for 8 years. My first job was the Herald, and one of the things that I was doing at the Herald was building the pages. Well, I forgot an ad for the Sunday newspaper, and we have Ashlee here freaking out and just basically almost screaming at me of asking me why I had messed up. And honestly, I had no idea that I was new, but
look, I just talk loud. I wasn't screaming, okay?
But it's great. We became friends to the point that whenever I came here to Davis Marketing, I said, hey, we really need to get Ashlee. And we tried to get her for 3 years?
Something like
until
that.
we finally got her here. But a little bit of my story. So I'm originally from Mexico, and I came here when I was 15. When I was in college, I honestly didn't know, before college, I didn't know what graphic design was. I've always liked art, I've always liked drawing, but honestly I didn't know that graphic design was even a thing until I was in my senior year. I ended up going to Georgia Southern for graphic design, and right after college, I ended up at the newspaper, which is the place that really helped me to learn more about marketing. Because I knew how to design and I knew how to do logos and things like that, but I'd never had before that I had never done networking or marketing, and that's where everything started for me. While doing things at the newspaper, that's whenever DMC discovered me and basically stole me from the newspaper.
Traitors. Wait, I can't say that now because I'm here too. But yeah, I had some choice words when they stole her from us.
Yeah.
But when we were there, we would work together on like campaigns. Like so that's one thing that Gabby and I really get into creatively here and enjoy doing and bouncing ideas off of one another is because like at the Herald, that it was a newspaper, but they also started out with doing some videos, doing social media advertising, doing a little bit of that targeted advertising, like the podcast stuff that I was talking about earlier. And so Gabby would have to design for that. We'd have a customer that would need, a series of ads because they were having a big sale and they wanted to advertise leading up to it. And so Gabby would have to come up with different designs and taglines and things like that. And we would work together really closely on that.
That, I mean, it's just, even though you will say I'm more of the creative side of marketing, it's really great to work with people that can come up with an idea. They might not know how to make it work or how to design it, but when you have that collaboration, it just makes everything like 10 times better.
Yeah. Yeah. Then like we joke around a lot. We were actually saying it earlier, like sometimes I have that idea, but I can't do the execution. Yeah. So like, I have a knack or an eye for design, but I don't know how to make it work. So I'll give people an idea or, a concept and then they run with it and it looks great. Sometimes it doesn't work, and that's bound to happen, But yeah, that's one of the things I like about our team is like we're able to give that feedback and really talk through ideas for clients and stuff like that. We're working together to really give them what they need and make sure that they're getting the whole of DMC, not just me because I'm the one whose cell phone number they have or whose email they send stuff to. They're getting the entire team.
Yeah, and honestly, I think that's the thing that I love about DMC. Like we have so many different, like people from different backgrounds, different ages. When we first got Abby here, remember she started as an intern, and I was mind blown at her designs. Like she was still in college, and she was an intern, but she was doing amazing designs. So I kind of fought hard to get her here. So Abby, can you tell us a little bit what were you doing before Davis Marketing and how you got here?
Of course. Well, just start off, my name is Abigail Bass. I go by Abby though to my friends. And I am a graphic designer here at Davis Marketing. Before coming here, I was actually a full-time student at Georgia Southern. So while I was working at the Georgia Southern Recreation Center, I was getting my LinkedIn set up, really getting ready to start planning for a summer senior year internship. And I got a message from Dennis, our owner, and he was looking for a designer for here. And I didn't know much about DMC, but I looked it up and everything looked legit. I thought everything looked good. LinkedIn can be scamming you sometimes. And so I messaged him back. I told him, I'm not really looking for a full-time position because I'm still in school, but I would be really interested in an internship. And I sent him over my resume, I sent him over my portfolio website, and just really put myself out there for something that I knew I wanted. And so eventually I became the intern, and I went from doing an internship that summer, and I went to part-time when school came back. And then after I graduated in May, I started here full-time.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's the story for a lot of people actually. We've got and also we have some internships available if anybody needs one. Was yours required for your classes though, or did you just do it for the experience?
Well, at the Georgia Southern graphic design program, you have the option of either doing an internship or you can take I think it's now called the user experience, like kind of like website design class. I knew that just for my personal goals that I wanted to take an internship because I knew that it would look good on my resume, and I also just had the amazing opportunity of finding an internship where I could grow and really put a foot in that company.
And you didn't even need a resume because we just hired you.
Exactly.
Her website had everything it needed.
My website spoke for itself.
So how has been your experience here, starting as an intern and then moving into a full-time?
Come in, with the experience that I had and be able to grow that experience with the team. It's been a very productive experience. Being able to work right hands-on in a company that's doing the thing. You know what I mean? Like, you can be in class and be reading PowerPoints or doing fake projects all day, but when you're really in the heat of it and getting deadlines done, having client changes that need to be made, I think that really sets you up for success after your graduation.
And it gives you the ability to work with somebody for a goal versus the goal being like a good grade, and so you're working together with a client, with an account manager to really make the changes and the end product what they want versus just trying to get an A
to
on.
please the professor.
Right, exactly.
And real timeline experience, because usually in college when we're doing like a project, sometimes they give us either like a whole month or sometimes a whole semester, and we don't have that here. You gotta get things done.
No. Sometimes it's like, hey, I need this before the end of the day, and it's like 3:30, and we work together to get it out. Abby is really great about that for all the graphic designers are really great about that for us.
So I would like to ask a question. I respect graphic design because, like Ashlee said, like, I cannot design something, or I can think of something, but I can't design it as well. Like, what is y'all's biggest challenge as a graphic designer, like, that you face in your job?
There are
as
a lot.
a graphic designer.
Yeah, I mean, there are a lot, believe me, but I think for me, the most challenging part is whenever we spend so much time in creating the brand identity for clients. Like, it's really not just about us coming up, like typing your name and coming up with an icon. We do research behind it. So everything that we put in your branding, the color, the fonts, the tone, and all of that, it's something that we really take the time to research. So sometimes clients, we do their branding and then they take it and it's not consistent after that, and it's kind of sad for me to see that my branding is not being followed, but then at the same time, I think it's important because that's what makes people recognize your business.
Right.
And whenever you get out of of your colors or the tone of voice or something different, then you get people confused.
You're
What is it?
unrecognizable.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's one of my biggest challenges. Like, I wish every branding that we could create here, that we can kind of manage it and make sure that it's always consistent.
Right.
So it's funny that you say that. I actually had the opportunity earlier this week to speak to an intro to business class of high schoolers, and I popped up some images on the TV in their classroom to show them, and ask them what things were, and I used a tissue box. And you think tissue boxes, everybody knows what that is, but half of them were like, oh, those are Kleenex. Kleenex is a brand, but it's so ingrained because of the excellent job they've done in marketing. And, I never buy Kleenex brand. I usually buy Puffs, but because that's what my mom bought, and that's the nostalgia part of a brand that really gets into you and, just makes it a trusted brand for your household. But then Kleenex brand is just so strong that I end up, calling it a Kleenex, even though it's technically a facial tissue.
Well, when you think about companies like that, brand is a long-term game. Like, it's all long-term. You think of it as a long-term relationship. So you think of, McDonald's, Chick-fil-A, Kleenex, all of these brands, they have stuck to that long term. And so it's really important.
Yes, consistency, exactly.
Consistency.
And y'all talked about that a lot in the last podcast.
Hunter's last podcast, talking about what is brand identity.
Yeah.
Speaking of brand identity, Sarah, aren't you working on a logo right now?
I am currently working on a logo right now. I'm working on branding, and it's really fun to get to bounce ideas off of everyone. Actually, a good idea I got was from Ashlee. We're doing a Western brand right now, and she gave me the great idea of using barbed wire. And it's just something I'm going to run with right now because it's just so fun, and you can get that rusty red from it, and it really helps with their branding a lot, and it's really enjoyable. And I think that's one thing I love about DMC is you can just bounce ideas off of one another, and you don't have to be afraid of, what do you think of this? And someone's not going to really, say it sucks, it's horrible. Ashlee might, but
Depending on
all
the day.
in jokes. It's all in jokes.
Depending on the day.
Or depending on the day.
Or if you've had coffee.
Yeah, I have to be caffeinated.
There's quite a few factors.
Okay, I'm a complicated individual. Okay. All a little complicated though, but Sarah, you've got a little bit of I'm gonna say complicated journey to how you got to DMC because you, like me, didn't go to school for what you're doing.
Oh, that's right. So I'm Sarah Connor, and I actually did not start out at all with graphic design. So I went to school at Augusta University for biology. I was pre-med or pre-PA, however you want to look at it. And I was full on going down that track. And then senior year, I just thought, well, I'm not entirely sure anymore. So, and I figured I'm young enough to where if I want to go down a different journey and it's a mistake, it's fine. I can recover from a mishap like that. So I was looking around Statesboro because I'd moved back home, and I was looking for an internship opportunity. I believe I just cold emailed y'all and was like, y'all have anything?
We were like the Terminator. No, just kidding.
Coming for y'all. But I just wanted to see if there was something there, and I had done a couple of internships the summer before, and it felt like a lot of busy work that they were giving me. It didn't feel very collaborative or anything. And then I got here, and that all changed. Y'all were like, what do you want to learn? What skills do you want to build upon? Because all I really knew was Illustrator, and I didn't know anything about Photoshop. I didn't know how to put a photo into Photoshop. So I was brand new at this, and I really just was able to grow a skill set here and learn a lot. I've only been here a year, and I started as an intern and then moved up to part-time, and then in September I should be moving into full-time. So I've really gotten to go full into this and really dive in and develop myself with this, and it's been a fun journey. So
her talent is like multifaceted. So like she's a graphic designer on paper, but when she's bored or doesn't have as much on her plate and she sees some of us account managers scrambling around and needing to get content done, she's like, hey, would you like me to write some content for you? And we're like, yes, please. And she does it, and she does an amazing job at it because I think you just like learning. And so you get to dive into those customers and see like what they do and, what services they offer. And then sometimes I'm a little jealous because I'm like, this content's better than what I've been doing. What am I doing with my life? But I think that really is a testimony to like the teamwork aspect here at DMC. Like we're really, helping each other out. I know like Gabby comes to me when she has questions. Abby and I've been working really closely together on a Splash in the Burrows stuff this year. And, it's really been fun to do that and to get to see different sides of it. Like we're growing their TikTok stuff. Other aspect of teamwork is the podcast. Like Gabby came to me and was telling me, some ideas that she was having and some research she'd been doing because she, a lot like Sarah, likes to learn, and was talking about different ways that businesses are moving. And I was like, let's do a podcast. And so, we've got us 5 here, but we're pairing up and, doing different podcasts. So we've had all different topics. We've got so many different topics planned, and it's just getting to hear from all of us about, our different experiences and different things that we do. And, speaking of like experiences, you and I've had experience at the newspaper. So, we've seen that, grassroots, newspaper side. And then
moving into the digital now. I remember when we were in the newspaper, we were talking about creating that bridge into digital, that's one thing we do here at Davis Marketing. We like to stay ahead of the trends. And another thing that I think we're great at is that we have different people from different ages. We have people that just graduated from college and people that have had a lot of experience with marketing. And I think having that fresh mindset, fresh ideas that help us build something better and something that's gonna work for our clients.
Yeah, I think what you're talking about too, Gabby, is, you know, we try to stay ahead of the trends, but what's really important about, you know, starting new trends and just keeping up with the world is working with professionals like us so that you stay on brand while starting these new trends. And we can help you do that. So.
Yeah,
that's right.
Absolutely. So, like, I know that we've heard from Sarah and Abby about having internships.
Well, as I mentioned, I came here when I was 15, and I didn't know how college worked here in the United States. I knew my degree required an internship, but I really never tried to apply for one. I just went straight to like one of the classes and just ended up at the Herald.
Gotcha. Nice. Yeah. Rachel, what about you? What was your degree in?
Yeah, so mine has nothing to do with marketing. I just took a lot of marketing classes, but it was public administration. But I did have to have an internship, but my full-time job worked that out to where that was my internship. So it was really cool.
Yeah. So we've all come from different pathways and different, things like that. And yeah, so you were working, you were the only one, it sounds like, that actually started in graphics and have now ended up in what you started in. Because Sarah over here, is going to be a doctor.
She was going to try to save people. Now she's saving businesses.
Yeah, there you go. Like 911 for your branding.
Our secret weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And she can do CPR if we need her, I guess. But tell us a little bit, like, you did internships before that? Before here, you said?
I did. So I did a couple here, like at local marketing companies here in town. And one of them was a remote job, so I didn't really get the teamwork aspect of it. It was kind of just me by myself and then talking to another person. And I really didn't get the feedback that I was looking for. I would put a logo out there. Honestly, they probably sucked because I was really new at it, but I did not know if they were any good or anything because I really didn't get much word back, and maybe that was for my emotional benefit, not getting any word back. But and then I went to another one. That one only lasted during the summer, but during the same time I went to an in-person internship, and that one was a lot better. I did get the teamwork aspect with that. But a lot of things I was doing, I guess partially because I was so new, I was doing just a little bit of social media graphics. So, excuse me, I did not get to do any logos, any t-shirt designs, and that's such a stark contrast from when I went here. And y'all are just like, what do you want to learn? And I've got to learn everything from graphics to content writing to even press releases and just like random things that like in using video editing software. And I feel like just the contrast between the previous internships and then just being here is just the amount of skills and learning that y'all want to pass on. Y'all aren't just wanting to have an intern do busy work and just sit at the front. Y'all actually want them to develop themselves, and that's like such a great opportunity here.
Yeah,
really cool.
Yeah, that's one of the big things about DMC is we want interns to be prepared for a job, whether it's here or somewhere else. And even like, I'm gonna pick on Abby because she's sitting right beside me. Like even Abby, even if Abby wanted to change jobs or move somewhere besides Statesboro, we want her to be able to have that growth, professionally and personally here at DMC, where she can be an asset for another company. We also want her to be able to say, I loved my time at DMC. I learned a lot. And we want to be able to say she made an impact on us. And so, that's one of the things that I really enjoy about working here at DMC is the growth that we have with each other.
For the ones that don't know, evolving is part of our core values, which are, they spell out fears, which are
flexibility, integrity, excellence, relationships, creativity, and evolving.
Yes.
That's right.
YMCA. I feel like, I don't know, because we're spelling.
But I don't know. I love our core values, and we actually worked really hard for a year to come up with our vision and our mission and our values, which is also part of your brand identity. And that's one thing that I don't see a lot of businesses doing. They work on their logo, on their colors, and all of that, but who do you want to be as a business?
Right.
How do you want your audience to see you as fun, serious, things like that, and what is really your mission and your goal, not just for a year or 5, if not, but a vision of like 10 years from now.
You want to present a professional persona, you know, but you also want to have a fun and like a meaningful presence in the community, and in the lives of the people that you deal with, whether that's a customer or an employee. And so I think that that's one of the things I like most about our core values is, you know, we have to have that integrity with ourselves, with each other, with our clients. We have to be able to adapt and evolve, you know, when they've got something that they're throwing at us and they need it really quick, or it's something that we've never done before. For an example, like I'm helping to set up text message alerts for our client when somebody schedules an appointment on their site, and we've never done that before. So I'm learning as I go. I'm adapting, and you know, and that kind of thing. And so they didn't know they needed it.
Yeah.
So they've never even thought about it, and it's never been something that was brought up until just recently.
But again, see, that's one of the things that we like to do here. Whatever we do a research on what your goal is, and then we figure out what's the best way to go about it. And a lot of people think that social media, managing your social media is just posting a picture, uploading a picture and posting a caption, and that's not just it. There should be a strategy that you should have in order to achieve those goals that you want for your business.
So really here at DMC, our brand is fierce, and that's our promise to our clients and our customers that we're going to work fiercely for you guys every single day and for your brand.
That's correct.
Yeah. So now that you've heard a little bit about the 5 of us and DMC as a whole, then you know a little bit more about what we do and what we can do for you and what we're all about, you know, why we do what we do and how we do what we do. And so the rest of the team will have their own table talk coming up soon. And, you know, we've talked about a lot of different topics. We've talked about branding and campaigns and all different kinds of things, logo development that we do and that we can help you with. But not only are we looking to help you with it, you know, as your marketing agency, but also, you know, through these podcasts, being educational and stuff like that. So we've got a lot more interesting stuff coming down the pipeline. We've got a whole schedule of different topics, different things that we're going to talk about. And we really want you to absorb that from us, you know, learn from us and from the other group that you'll get to meet soon. So yeah, just subscribe to the channel and follow us on social media. And we appreciate you taking the time to learn a little bit about us. And we look forward to being able to find out more about you.
Bye.